Oh, it's going to be fun. Yeah, we're looking forward. We were grateful to have you in. And we are live. Welcome to the show, folks. It is another fabulous Tuesday here at VodPod Media. For those folks that have been our viewers, for those folks that have been watching along, thank you so much for sticking with us. Thank you so much for witnessing all of the magic, excuse the pun, that we are going to be creating here, so on and so forth. We're going to get her on the mic somehow, some way. Don't worry, folks. And we are live, so welcome to the show. Welcome to the fun.
Yes.
As you know, I am your host, as always, Maximo, and we're ecstatic tonight because it's been a long time coming to have our guest here. I remember I messaged her a while back, and she goes, yeah, I want to come on the show, but not for 2 more or 3 more months. And I was like, what? Wait a minute, what's going on? And so we're going to get down to the business. We're going to talk a little bit about a lot tonight. We're going to have some fun. If you've got questions, comments, anything you'd like us to know, go ahead and drop it for us in the comment section because we're here live with our guest, Miss Kirsten Thompson. Kirsten, don't call me Kirsten Thompson. What's up with that? How come people can't get our names right?
Kristen, don't call me Constantinople. Don't call me Christina. It's Kier like ear.
It's
so
not that
easy.
hard.
It's so easy. It's 2 syllables. But, you know, I have multiple theories about why people mess my name up. I'll refrain from sharing all of them. But, you know, I'm a brown girl with a very European name. And I think sometimes that just messes people up. But yeah, Kirsten.
But why do people mess? Because they mess my name all the time as well. Can I call you Max? It's like, wait a minute. I just said my name was Maximo. Like,
Right.
get it right.
And, you know, I have a thing, like it's such a sign of respect to call someone by their name or to call them what they desire to be called.
Yeah.
But I think the tongue doesn't normally, and, you know, in English, I don't want to get into a whole linguistics thing, but there's certain vowels and consonants that combine, and K-I-R isn't just a very common one in the English language when you think about it. So I think that's part of it. But then I also think no one expects to see a brown girl named Kirsten, a black woman named Kirsten. You know, they're like, it's not Kristen, Christina, Kiki. Like, and I'm like, nope, Kirsten. That's it. I was named after.
What the hell, Kiki?
No, my name was, my nickname, I can't believe I'm admitting this. My nickname was Kiki for a while because people could not seem to grasp Kirsten. And I was like, you know what, I'll go with it. You can call me Kiki. And then I was like, wait a minute, I don't like that. I don't like it. Don't call me that anymore. So.
Oh my gosh. So yeah, that's another subject. But
Yeah.
listen, one of the reasons we wanted to have you on, one of the reasons we wanted to bring you on. I mean, again, we know you're here in the VodPod family, but other than that, I mean, you're just an interesting person. And I mean that with all due respect. No, I mean that in a good way.
What you saying?
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's people that I think are interesting. They have a certain depth to them. They have theories and ideologies on life that may not be what everyone else believes, right?
Typical, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
That's
You,
me.
I think you are a unique person, and we wanted to have you on because a lot of times people say, well, okay, hey, Maximo, who you having on the show this week? And I'm like, well, we're not into the process of having celebrities, people with a title, people that that people would believe to be super important. We're not having, you know, senators and all that sort of stuff on, A-list actors and celebrities. But we want to have people that have depth and people that have stories, people that have viewpoints that can offer to others as well,
Real
right?
people. Real people. Yeah.
You know, you have a show. We're going to talk a little bit about your show, but I think people are attracted to like TMZ, celebrity gossip, headlines, which I guess,
Exhausting.
but here's the thing. We've started to think about that with what the content that we want to have on our show. We started to think like, do people really need to hear that? I mean, is that what people want
I have
to hear?
theories about this too.
We're going to talk about that. We're going to
Okay,
talk about that.
cool.
And this is going to be a free-flowing conversation,
Okay,
so
cool.
we could talk about it right now. I mean, why are people enthralled and totally attuned to the Johnny Depp case?
People have reptile brains. No, really. So, you know, we have like a parasympathetic nervous system, and we have this one particular nerve, the vagus nerve, which runs from your brain into your stomach, and we are conditioned to react to everything, you know, as opposed to like observing and as opposed to like processing information. So when you see things, I mean, I don't even like those, and I know I'm gonna probably get on some people's nerves.
Get on them nerves.
I really hate those like housewives shows.
We're putting y'all on notice, housewives.
And I don't hate the housewives. I don't know any of them. They don't know me. So really I'm like, you know, yelling into the void. But I sat down and watched one for the first time, like, because, you know, I don't really watch TV, like, ever almost. And so I sat down and watched one, and I didn't feel good after I watched it. Even though there were a couple of times where I was like, oh, that's funny, or oh, she's cute. You know, I did have moments, but overall the feeling that I had when I got up and turned it off and went back to what I was doing, it didn't elevate my energy at all.
Absolutely
it, like,
not.
Brought it down.
Yeah.
And then I look at the way people interact with each other using like reality TV as a model for their interpersonal relationships, and I just think it's kind of toxic. So anyway, back to why we react to these things the way we do. I think it's like Pavlov's dog, you know, with the bell, and the bell rings, the dog. We're conditioned, and we're accepting our conditioning. And we're getting caught in a loop, and before you know it, you're not even thinking, you're just reacting. And it's addictive. Like our brain is like sending out chemicals like, ooh, I like this feels good, even if it really doesn't feel good. You're just looking for the next and the next and the next. Anyway, I sound crazy, but that's what I think it is.
But there's a reason. You're on to something. There's a reason why people like 90 Day Fiance. Right? Have you heard of this show?
Which one is that?
This is where like they pair two random people up and make them get married, make them fall in love.
Do they like bring them from another country?
Yep.
Okay, I saw an episode of that too.
I mean,
because I tried to turn my brain off before I went to my meditation.
I can't believe it.
So I was like, I think watch TV.
I think there's a part of it that's like, I want to get involved in something that's stress-free, something that I don't have to think about, something that I can shut off and not think about all the problems I have in the world by watching smut television. No offense to smut television.
Watch documentaries. It's so much better.
But people don't know. But people aren't into heavy stuff sometimes.
It's true.
They had a long day, stressful work. You got all this, bills going on. Gas prices are hitting you through the roof. The global.
Stick up.
Just when you get a raise at work, global warming is about to come blow us up. All of this stuff, right? Yeah. And so people will resort to 90 Day Fiance. Mm-hmm. Now, if you like 90 Day Fiance, I'd like to know why. Please drop it in the comment section. No disrespect.
Are the comments?
The comments are going to be coming in live. We're going to get them in.
Okay, cool.
So we can focus on that in just a bit. But I don't know. I think for us at this particular table, at the show that we particularly lead, my goal is to give some more depth to it, to give some more intellectual thought, to give some critical thinking into the space, and to allow people to see healthy conversations, to see us in a positive light, and to have something that's uplifting, engaging, motivating, and all of the things. Right. Because we don't have to have a title to be someone special, right? You don't need to be.
No, we don't.
You don't need to have all of these letters behind your name in order to have advice to give. Now,
Absolutely
I'm not diminishing accomplishments from other people. What I'm saying is that a lot of the things that we have accepted in society are all backwards because of what we've been taught, because of colonization, because of all of the things that be thinging.
How many hours do we have?
Exactly. And look, this isn't the first time that you and I have sat at a table and talked, but we've been looking to get back at it. When I knew that you were doing your show in here, I'm thinking, oh man, we on to something now.
Yeah, we're family. We're in the same building.
All right. So let's set the stage as well. For all of our viewers, we're going to go back and we're going to just free flow, right?
Okay, cool.
We don't have a set agenda, but anything you want to talk about, we'll put on the table. Okay. So for our viewers who don't know you, how would you describe who you are in your words so folks can get to know you a little bit better?
If I want to be really simplistic, I would say I am a heart-led, heart-centered creator.
Wow.
That would be like to distill it to the essentials. Because I do a lot. I
do
a lot. And I kind of like to explore, and I like to challenge myself. Sometimes I challenge myself to the point of exhaustion, and then I have to refine, I have to find that balance. But essentially there's so many things that I enjoy. Recently I posted a video of myself singing, and it was so funny because people were like, you sing? I love to sing. But then other people were like, you speak Spanish? And I'm like, yes, I do. I think that we are all born with a creative energy, and it manifests itself differently in different people and at different frequencies, but it's just like, the lights here, and then, sound, that's all energy. It's just expressing itself differently and at different frequencies, so that when you're able to observe it, it's different. But there's no difference between these lights and I think the speaker. Oh no, it's coming from the exhibit next door.
Yeah.
There's not really a difference. It's just a difference in expression. So what I try to do is explore all those different types of expression. And some of it I do very publicly, some of it I do privately, but that's essentially who I am. I'm a creative person. And I genuinely love people, even when humanity gets on my last nerve, including myself. I get on my own nerves sometimes. I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of me. I need to get it together and go away somewhere and get myself back. But essentially, that's what I would say. Professionally, I've worked in, goodness, I started working when I was very young, because I had a single mother that was a wonderful, wonderful mother, but she was a single mother. So I wanted things. And so I was like, well, I'm going to have to work. So I babysat. But I got my first like real job when I was 15 and never stopped working. And I've spent a lot of time in the luxury retail sector and fashion, fashion production, event production. So professionally, but I don't think that's really the best way to describe myself by what I have done professionally. I just think I'm I have a big heart and I love to create.
Yeah, and that's a good way of putting it. Now, you mentioned to distill it, that's how you would put it. But if you have to give something to our more cognizant, more vibrating hearts and minds that are watching, how would you explain yourself then?
How much time do we have?
We got time. And you can spread it out.
But so do you want me to focus on like professional?
I mean, however you want to do it. I mean, if you had to describe who you were or you want people to know something about you, I mean, just put it out there. It's open-ended.
I'm a poet. And there's people that know me very well as a poet. And there's people that have no idea, like, what? I'm a writer. I'm actually working on 3 books right now.
Wow.
And I'm only saying this because this is putting pressure on myself to complete them. But I'm working on them concurrently. I just recently started doing voice acting and voice work.
Good for you.
Which is really interesting because people have been telling me for years. I like to leave voice memos because I really don't like texting. I just don't. It's stressful. I can't keep up. And so I just send voice memos to everyone. And people have said, like, you've got a great voice. I didn't necessarily hear it, but I feel like if people are telling you the same thing over and over, then the universe is trying to tell you something. So I started doing a little bit of that, and that's been very interesting. But primarily I've been a wardrobe stylist and a fashion stylist I've lost count of the years. I'm over 40 now, so everything is like...
It's all a blur.
It's a blur, yeah.
And a very good one at that.
Thank you.
With a great reputation and influence in the San Antonio area and beyond. But I know you from the San Antonio area. We are in San Antonio. This is a multinational, layered, interplanetary show. We have viewers from all over.
Reach.
All over. And so, but we do happen to be hubbed here in San Antonio. And I got to ask, how did you get here?
Oh, goodness. So, and I don't know why I keep scooting that way because my coffee's over there, but the mic's over here. So again, my mother was a single mother and wanted to move us to a place that had some culture, that was a city, but not a city like Dallas or Houston. That was more of a metropolis. So I came here when I was 11. And I tried to escape several times. I moved away and come back. I don't know how many times now, I've lost count. But yeah, I came here as a child. And so even though I'm not from here, this is essentially home. And people always say, like, you don't seem Texan. And I'm like, well, there's stereotypical Texas, but Texas is very diverse.
It is, yeah.
Very diverse. And I recently just learned that there are more Black people in Texas than any state in the United States. I did not know that. Wow, that doesn't even sound like a real fact. Yeah. But you know me, I fact checked it and fact checked it and fact checked it again. I'm like, wow, that is accurate. So that's how I ended up in San Antonio. And I've lived in other cities, but I've come back home. So this is where I'll be for a little while.
San Antonio tends to grow on people. Something about something in the city, it like sticks to your heart.
It does.
It doesn't matter if it's the art, if it's the people, if it's, whatever it may be, something wins you over here. And there's a lot to be said about that. So shout out to all of our viewers in San Antonio and beyond. Go ahead and text us. Let us know where you're watching from. We have live viewers that stick with us and watch all the show from start to finish. We have people that go back and replay this. Feel free to go ahead and reshare this. We appreciate your support. So Kirsten, I mean, I want to talk a lot about a lot, but you look fabulous tonight. You look great on camera. Where did you get this? Where is this ensemble from?
I was comfortable and casual. And he was like, no, you're not. Okay, real talk. This is from like Buffalo Exchange, and I think I paid $7 for it.
Yeah.
My head wrap is actually from a Haitian sister named Paola, who used to be in New York. Now she's in Austin. So this is a femme jam. Femme jam is Haitian Creole for strong woman, and I am. And then Beyonce briefly had a line called House of Darion. I don't know who all remembers it, but these are her bangles. I bought like 100 of them. So I pretty much wear bangles every day, and that's and then I've got on sneaks. I've got on Adidas kicks because
I love it.
You know, yeah. But it's so funny because I'm sure you noticed me doing this. So I just got back from this retreat. I lost weight because we only ate twice a day.
Wow.
So that's why I'm just like, okay, all my clothes are a little big on me now, but it is what it is. You can't sweat it. But I love to dress every day.
Yeah.
And I remember being young. There were certain people that would try to convince me that like your exterior is like superficial, and you don't want to be like this vapid, soulless person who only thinks about pretty things. But I don't look at fashion that way at all. It's communication, first of all.
Yeah.
When you walk into a room, you are giving people, it's nonverbal communication.
Yeah.
So you're kind of telling people a little bit about who you are, but then you're also expressing something. Because there are days I dress like a boy. Like I have combat boots. I have flight suits. I have like probably 10 flight suits that I wear. Some are camouflage, some are black. I look like I'm about to slide under the hood of a car and go to work, you know. It just depends on my mood. But I've also, interestingly enough, I've gotten jobs just based on how I'm dressed, because I've walked into a place and someone has said, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And then I have an opportunity to talk about what I do. And then I can back up with my body of work, and I'm booked, and I'm talking to someone I didn't know who this person was. The universe works in mysterious ways, but I love it. I love to express myself through fashion, and I don't follow trends. Like at all. I just do what I feel like doing. Yeah,
and I would agree with all of that. I ran into you a couple of months ago at a friends and family school of all things. I was
picking up my godnephew.
And you came out of the vehicle, and I was like, man, who is that? And then I saw, is that Kirsten? You had this amazing outfit on, and I don't remember how to explain it. It was like some futuristic top that it was like swirled around. I think you had some amazing necklace on too.
Oh, I can't even remember. But it's funny. So that's my godnephew. And the ladies in the front office of that school literally would wait every day to see what I was going to wear.
Exactly.
And it's interesting because they started dressing up. They're like, girl, we knew you were coming today. Because I only picked them up on certain days. They're like, we knew you were coming today. So I wore my whatever. And you know, it may be a small thing, but it was something that they looked forward to. And then we could have like even though it was like a little 5-minute conversation, I think it's very much a way to connect with people too. Because let me tell you what I don't like. What I don't like is when people take fashion and weaponize it. So they make it into this thing that is very unattainable. There's a social aspect to everything, right? But I don't like when people use it to sort of create a hierarchy.
Yeah.
Because to me, it should be a very democratic thing. Some of the flyest, dopest people you will ever meet are in very obscure places like Haiti or Sierra Leone or down in the jungle in Panama or wherever. And they are fly as all get out because they're doing it from this place.
Yeah.
They're not doing it from I need to compete with you. That I don't believe in any of that. That is not... Yeah, it's not cute. Yeah. For lack of a better word.
I see how people do that. I don't like that either.
So you said colonization earlier, and I was like, ooh, how far are we going to get into? I mean, a lot of it has to do with colonization and colonization and commerce are fabulous bed partners. And a lot of it has to do actually with insecurity. So we're all insecure about something. Mm-hmm. Everyone has their insecurities. I told Guylan, I was like, I need to sit on that side because I'm getting a pimple. We all have, things.
Yeah, those little things.
But that's different than not being secure about who you are and why you're here. Like, we're all here for a reason.
Yeah.
It's up to us to figure it out. It's us to figure out how we're going to achieve the things we need to achieve, how to bring things to fruition. It's not for anyone else to figure out, but you can use everything as a tool, and fashion is one of my tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the tools in my toolbox.
Good. You do it. You use it very well.
Thank you.
If I must say so myself. Now, let me ask you this as well. You know, we don't have a script here. We have some things we may want to touch on. Whether we get to them or not remains to be seen.
Yeah, I'm just like, okay, I don't know if I'm looking in the right place.
Good.
I'm just gonna keep looking at you. So if the eye contact's weird, it's because I don't know where to look.
It's all good. We just vibing. We want the show to be a vibe.
Cool.
This is the culture. And you know, part of the vibe I'm getting from you is a desire to be cultured, a desire to be open-minded about others, to listen with your heart and mind, and to respect other people. I find, for the most part, you know, a lot of people are just the opposite. Oh, we don't mess with that, or we don't go there, or that's not what we do. That's not us. You know, that sort of thing. I mean, how have you learned this? I mean, where have you taken this practice from? Is that accurate? I mean,
yeah, let me tell you. And I don't talk about this all of the time because it's kind of a sensitive topic for me. But I was raised in a very stringent, rigid, strict, closed off religious sect. Some people call it a cult. My parents are Jehovah's Witnesses, and we were raised, and my parents are wonderful, beautiful, amazing people. So this is not about them, but this is about the conditioning that occurs when you're told that the set of information that you have is the truth, or it's the right way, or it's the only way. So I remember growing up and being told things like, well, you know, people who dress like that, or people who have tattoos, or people who think this way, or men who like men. We love them. What is that? Don't hate the sin. No, don't hate the sinner, hate the sin. And I'm like, well, what makes it a sin? Like, I got in a lot of trouble as a kid because I challenged everything. I was always in trouble, and I asked a lot of questions. But I think at a very young age, you know, there have been these like sociological studies that say who you are as a person is kind of crystallized by the time you're age 7. And I really believe that, because at a certain age, you know what feels right to you. Mm-hmm. You know what feels wrong. You know what feels good. You know what makes you happy. You know what scares the lights out of you. And a lot of those same thoughts that I had when I was 7, I have now. They're just expanded because I have more information and more life experience, and I've been more places and seen more. But I think a lot of who I am now has been encouraged by that experience, knowing that I don't ever want to be a person that excludes people intentionally, or that makes a person feel like they're not good enough. Like, I just want to, you don't have to love everyone by bringing them into your circle, but there's definitely a way to be intentional about how you make people feel, even if you interact with them for 2 seconds, which is why I'm always having weird conversations with strange people. I'm like, what is going on? But I realize it's because I'm open. I talk to people, I smile at people, and sometimes it's too much. But I think that's part of why we're here. Like, mm-hmm. And I know this sounds cheesy and hokey, but that's I really believe all of this. Like, we're here to connect. We're here to be human, because there's a difference between being human and being a Homo sapien. Yeah. You'll never hear anyone say like that was in Homo sapien. No, they say it's inhumane, because humanity is a status. It's something that you reach. And the terms can be used interchangeably. A lot of people do, but we're supposed to aspire to like elevate. And the easiest way to do that is just be a kind, open-hearted person. You know, lead with your heart. I have a very good friend. His name is Yersir Rahotep. He is the inventor, I guess you could say, of Kemetic yoga. And Kemetic yoga is, I want to make sure I describe it correctly. But, you know, in Egypt, on the tombs and the walls, you see all of these postures and these poses. And the actual language is called the Medu Neter, but people just call it hieroglyphs. So the hieroglyphs on the walls are reflecting like day-to-day life activity. So he developed a system of yoga around that activity, and he's really an amazing person. But he just posted something the other day, and he said, do you know that in ancient Egypt, the heart was revered more than the brain? So when people were being embalmed and getting ready for burial, they would often throw away the brain and have a special procession and special place for the heart and preserve the heart. And it's been scientifically proven that the heart actually generates like more electrical current than the brain.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think I heard that.
It's true. Because, you know, anytime somebody tells me something, I'm like, is that right? And then I go and look it up. So I think as humans, we really got to do a better job of being heart-centered. I think that would solve so many of our problems.
It would solve a lot of the problems. Yeah. The overwhelming majority of them, because you're right. Right now, I mean, listen, I think from the experience of people inside of this country and other countries, but specifically from us speaking inside of people who are here living the experience as people of color, you know, society's never really been right. Society's never really been right with us, right? I mean, you talk about, we talked about a little bit about colonization. We talk about slavery. We talk about, you know, racism. We can talk about institutional issues, but just how we view and see people, right? Anti-blackness, whether it's anti-immigrant, anti-whatever, if it ain't white, it ain't right, sort of deal.
Listen,
and a lot of people don't like talking about it, but look,
I'll talk about it. You know I will.
Well,
I've been quiet lately, but I will
we are
talk about it.
We are talking about it. You know, the fact of the matter is that a lot of people get upset and offended as soon as you bring up the topic of racism, as if it's a big myth. Like, it's not. Like, let's be honest. I mean, there are active forces happening right now inside this country that are trying to prevent our vote, that are discriminated against us from all sorts of things, housing issues. You look at inflation, which is just an economical thing for let's just tax that ass a little bit more, right? I mean, capitalism. I mean, come on, this is real stuff.
We're in the Matrix.
Yeah, this is insanity.
We're in the Matrix, for real. Yeah.
You know, and a part of us, one of the things we try to do with this show is like, okay, let's block all this out and let's feel, right? Let's think about, you know, how we treat others as people. And we bring everyone to the table. We want to talk about it. We want to turn people on with other, you know, vibrations and heart-centered thoughts, right? Because people need to hear that.
Right. But then also there's the balance of like, you know, even the topic of reality can be argued because it's like, are we living in reality? Like, what's reality? I don't want to sound too weird, but we want to live a certain way, and then we aspire to be all these things, and then reality comes and slaps you upside the head, and you have to deal with these everyday, very real things that kind of knock you off your square. And it's a constant, I don't want to say fight, but there's so much effort that goes into getting back on your square and being centered and being productive and being useful. There's what is her name? I can't remember her name, but there was a sister who was being interviewed on like a talk show. And she said that the man that she was dating was like very generous and very kind. And she was almost like, wow, he's just too nice. Like, what's going on? And she said, you know, you don't have to do all this for me because I don't want to use you. And what he said was so poignant. He said, you're supposed to use me. We are supposed to use each other. We're just not supposed to misuse. And I was like, church.
Yeah.
That to me is like at the essence of what we're here. Like, we've taken the term using someone and given it such a negative but I want to be useful. Like, if I have gifts, I want to share them.
Yeah.
If I can, I do it every day. If I know that I can connect someone and build that bridge so that two people can benefit, I don't have to be in it. I can just make the connection and walk away. If I know that a young model is not having opportunities, I'll send a quick email to the head of a department at a modeling age or wherever. And I'll say, hey, I need to put this person on your radar, and then step away. And then you can sit back and you can watch things blossom and you can see these things blooming. You don't need credit for it. You don't need a whole bunch of accolades. And I'm not gonna lie, the accolades are nice sometimes. You know, they feel good. It's like an affirmation, but that's not why you do it. You do it because that's what you're here to do. And then all the other stuff is like the cherry on top. So I don't know if that answered your question.
It does.
I feel like I was like,
it's okay.
I detoured.
No, it's okay. We're just talking. We're just having an open conversation. But, you know, you're right. We do it for humanity, not the vanity, right? We do it for a purpose. I always tell my son that you have certain gifts. Oh. Thank you. I tell my son and anybody really that, well, listen, right? I mean, if you have certain gifts and you don't utilize those gifts, you're not walking in your purpose. You're not living that true purpose and passion that you were meant to do. And don't miss that buck. You don't want to miss that buck. I know a lot of men that are my age, 30 somethings, 40 somethings, that are recognizing, man, what happened?
Right.
What happened with my life?
Listen.
Like, what's up? I'm depressed now because I thought I was somebody. I thought I had things squared away. I thought I knew what I was doing. And now I don't know what to do.
And the blink of an eye can all be gone.
Absolutely.
And I've experienced this. This is why I'm saying it. Like, I have experienced being like here, and then for me it was illness, but it can be anything. People lose jobs.
Anything, yeah.
People have divorces. People have legal issues. There's a number of things that could just really change your life dramatically.
Yeah.
And then you have to be like, well, dang, am I okay with who I really am without the stuff, without, you know, the crowds, without the accolades, without, you know, you have to, it's very sobering. It's very sobering. It makes you think. And time flies. Time is worth so much more than money. You can get money back. You cannot get time back.
So, okay, so
it's done. It's done.
So from the moment you just said this, something came into my mind because this afternoon I walked past a television that was showing things that happened this year in like pop culture.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff has happened. A lot of things have happened in the last 6 months, so on and so forth. One of the things that they were showing is Will Smith slapping Chris Rock.
Oh, Lord.
And this thing just will not go away. Like, we talk about people losing opportunity. Now, look, people make mistakes. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. If you have any, if you want to go there past the buck, we can go to something else. But this thing won't go away. Like, they're still talking about Chris Rock. I mean, I think Jada recorded a podcast or something recently, and she said something like, okay, Will and Chris got to make up somehow. Chris Rock was on stage at a Dave Chappelle thing a couple weeks ago. Somebody attacked Dave Chappelle. Chris Rock jumped on stage and said, hey, was that Will Smith? And so there's a lot of stuff still brewing in the air. Now, some people think this thing was all a hoax or it's all fixed or something. I don't know what it is, but this thing is not going to go away. My point, though, is that I think Will Smith made a mistake. And how is he being villainized still for this mistake that he made? You know, he has missed out on some opportunities, I believe. You know, they have banned him from the Oscars, all this stuff. Do you have any thoughts on this? Do you want to pass it?
No, we could talk about it. I just, you know, sometimes I feel like, again, like, am I just shouting into the void? Because at the end of the day, Hollywood is a weird place. It's a weird place. And I've had enough adjacency to some of it to know, like, I don't want to be in it.
Yeah.
I don't want to have anything to do with it. Like, I have friends who work in the industry, and the things they share with me, I'm like, oh, that's a lot. That's special. So at the end of the day, I agree with you. I do think he made a mistake. I don't think he should be vilified for it for all eternity, and his name and his house be cursed forevermore. Because we all make mistakes. At the end of the day, we just don't have every second of our life recorded. We don't have our we don't have our lowest and highest moments recorded, unless we choose to do it ourselves and then throw it on social media, which that happens a lot too. But he's human. And I have so many thoughts on this. He's a human being. He made a mistake, and he has to deal with the repercussions.
Yeah.
So it honestly, and I don't say this like in a flippant way, I don't even think it matters what we think about it.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
At the end of the day, he and his wife and his household are, I'm going to use the word suffering very lightly, because when you're living in like a 10,000 square foot house and have millions of dollars at your disposal, but at the end of the day, they have to live with the repercussions of that act. And he has to either mend whatever relationships have been affected or not. It's really all on him. Now, I do believe in multiple truths, and I think several things can be true in one scenario. So I also think that in the moment, he probably thought he was doing the right thing, you know? I also think Jada is getting a lot of like really weird hate. But this is very common for Black women.
That's what I'm talking about.
And I also think at the same time that, you know, people are dragging her past entanglement situation into this, and they really don't have anything to do with one another. I mean, everything is related in some way. So it's just very convoluted. But at the end of the day, I can speak for myself. Like, I've had moments that I'm not proud of, you know?
Yeah.
Just not the whole world knew about them. And I've never slapped anybody, like, you know, that's not my frequency. But, you know, we've all done things where we're like, dang, I should not have done that. I should have paused first. I should have taken a moment. I should have walked away. I shouldn't have, made that phone call or sent that email or whatever. We all have some version of that. And just like we have to deal with the repercussions or rectify the situation, he's got to do it too. So yeah, he made a mistake, but like, haven't we all? And I don't think he should be castigated like for eternity because he did something that was, I don't agree with what he did at all. I don't agree with it, but I understand why he may have, I understand why he did it.
Other things that have been in the news over the last couple of months, weeks, something that happened a few weeks ago close to San Antonio, the Uvalde school shooting, another mass shooting inside the United States. What are your thoughts about all these shootings?
So you know what's wild? This happened literally right before I went away. I went on a meditation retreat for 2 weeks, and I was a nervous wreck the first day because all I could think is like, I'm out here in Texas in the middle of nowhere. I'm the only Black woman. Like I purposely sat myself, like I surveyed the meditation hall. It's like a 3,000 square foot space. And I was like, I'm going to sit near this exit. I really, from the moment I entered the grounds, because every time one of these things happens, it like shakes you to your core.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the United States of America is stuck in a loop. And it's a really, I feel like we're in the twilight zone. Because how many times have we had a school shooting and everyone mourns and everyone posts statuses on social media and everyone laments over how tragic it is and sends their thoughts and prayers to the family and the communities. And then it subsides. And then another news cycle later, something else happens. And then it just keeps happening. I mean, I don't know what the actual data is for this year, but there have been a lot of shootings, a lot of them. And something is, I think this country is morally bankrupt, is what I think. And there aren't enough people, because I never want to use the word, let me make sure I'm saying what I really want to express, because this is a lot. There aren't enough people who are willing to sacrifice and actually do something. It's easier in this day and age to just say things on social media and to talk about how sad it is and then move on. But it's like there are actions that you can take. If you really disagree with this scenario, what can you as an individual do? So some people vote, some people don't agree with voting. So maybe there's something else you can do. But there's a cultural problem here in the United States. And when I say cultural, I don't mean anything to do with any ethnicity. I mean the culture of like American culture has some serious problems, because this is not only this year. I mean, I remember Columbine thinking, oh my God, this is the worst thing that could ever happen. This will never happen again. This was a one-off crazy, some psychopath. How many times has it happened since then?
Oh my God, countless.
And I believe firmly, I'm a country girl, no one ever believes it, but I believe that we have a right to arm ourselves.
Yeah.
But within those rights, you have responsibilities. And I think that there are certain procedures and protocols that need to be in place. And then I just don't think there's certain weapons that the American public needs to have.
Yeah.
I don't think, your average householder and family need to have assault rifles. That's just me. It's not a popular opinion. We're in Texas. I don't care. I think that needs to be done away with.
Yeah.
Because those are the weapons that are enabling people to have these, heinous crimes. I mean, you don't hear about somebody doing it with like a Walther PPK or a Beretta. It's like assault rifles.
True.
So that's something we need to look at. But there's legislature that has to pass. And for legislature to pass, there's a whole bunch of other things that need to happen before that. So it's a really convoluted situation. It's just sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
I don't know what else to say, because
that's a tough one too. I mean, this country doesn't have an answer for it. We could easily fix this if we wanted to, but nobody wants to. People are tied to special interests. People have communities to serve so they can get reelected. We've got a certain segment of the population who don't believe in voting, and rightfully so. There's a lot of people that are actively working to prevent people from voting, things that ensure voter suppression.
Absolutely.
Right. That's a whole nother subject. All of that to say, let's not get discouraged about it, right? Let's still try to come up with solutions where we can.
Yeah.
One of the aspects about these sorts of issues is I hate to get cynical, but it's easy to when this is on repeat, right? We're stuck on loop.
It is. And that's, I'm trying to figure out how not weird I want to sound.
You can get as weird as you want, because guess what?
But
I feel like you're empowering a lot of people, though, because people are like, yes, right? When you do you, right? You're influencing people, whether it be with your fashion, style, thoughts that you have. People are thinking, yes, it's just the same, right? Iron sharpens iron.
True that. I think so we react to what we see and what we feel and what we hear, like in this room. I feel like so many things are very spiritual, and that is at the root of a lot of our issues too. And I don't mean like pie in the sky, like, oh, you just sit around, you think about beautiful, lovely things and everything will be fine and you just love everyone. No. One of the highest forms of spirituality is know thyself, right? And if you know yourself, then you'll find more peace. And if you find more peace within, then answers that you're seeking will come to you. And then if you have those answers, you can catalyze things. You can make things happen in a very purposeful, intentional way, as opposed to sitting around and feeling defeated. So I really feel, and this is not like a religious thing, because I'm not religious at all, actually. I'm just very spiritual. I think that we need to spend more time going within, because it's very easy to point fingers and say it's very easy to other people when things like this happen. So it's not me, it's those other people.
Yeah.
They need to do this. It's like, what can you do? Because we can't really make anyone do anything, even with voting in the political system. What you can do is live your life in a way that other people are like, oh, that's how he does that. Well, you know what? I'm going to ask. And maybe I can do this in my life, you know? And I've seen that personally. Like when I worked, we were laughing earlier because our producer said that, what did he say? Vegans were weird or obnoxious
all
or
vegans
something.
are
All
weird.
vegans are weird. And I was like, I take umbrage with that. And it's kind of true. You know, we're a different lot. But I remember when I first went vegan, I was so annoying. I was like, no, don't eat that. It's a carcinogenic. This is what happens in your body. This is blah, blah, blah. And I look back and I was like, God, that was so obnoxious. Like, I would not have wanted to be on the receiving end of that. But when you get new information, you're very zealous and you want to share everybody. And you want to like say, we're not here to save anybody. We're here to save ourselves and be some kind of light so that people see and they either get inspired or maybe they don't get inspired. Maybe they still think it's obnoxious. It's like, oh, that quiet vegan over there is still getting on my nerves. And I think that applies to everything. Like, you just have to be intentional about how you live so that other people, I don't even want to say look up to you, because it's not like this. Like, we're not existing like this. Like, I feel like life is this big circular thing, right? And some people are over here and some people are here and some people are, you know, northeast and some people are southwest. We're all trying to just make it around the circle. We're trying to make it around. And if you live your life in a way where people have something to aspire to, because I see it in a lot of my friends, like in my close friend group, I admire each one of those people so deeply. I really do. Like, I tell my friends I love you every time we hang up the phone, because you don't know what could happen, but also I really admire my friends for who they are, how they live, and of course, like, their secular and professional achievements, but they're also not beating me over the head. You know, I have a friend who is an atheist. Love her to death. We don't agree on that, but she's an amazing human being.
Yeah.
So I don't care what she believes in or doesn't believe in, you know? And I have another friend who's Buddhist and has, like, I don't know, 32,000 gods. I don't know. But if you just choose... Yeah, if you just make a choice, I want to live my life this way, and hopefully I can work on myself and be the best version of myself. Other people will see it. You don't have to beat them over the head. So if we think that gun laws should change, or we think that our society is horrible, start working on yourself first, and the people around you will come and ask questions or, you know, want to be aligned, and then it's like a series of concentric circles that just get bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And it's not sitting around and thinking happy thoughts, even though that helps. It's action.
Yeah.
You know, so.
Yeah, and I find that a lot of our people, and when I say our people, I mean people of color, I mean the original people,
Black
I
and
mean
brown,
melanated people.
The global majority.
Exactly.
We want to be real about it.
Exactly. I find that we are, I wouldn't say hyper spiritual, but just hyper aware spiritually of people, of spirits, of good vibes, bad vibes, of protecting yourself. I mean, how many of our cultures, when you really get back down to it, have something like, protecting you from the evil eye or, bad vibes and spirits,
We're
right?
all about the energy. And it's funny because now, people have sort of like adapted it. It's like a new age thing. I'm like, no, honey bunny, that is way, 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 way back. And every culture has an expression of the same thing. Energy doesn't lie, vibes. Black people are always like, nah, the vibes were off. Like I've heard that so many times. Or no, I left and I got out of there because I didn't like how it was, that energy is a very real thing. And I think we just have to also get back to listening to it. My grandmother and I like always post this on Facebook like 2 or 3 times a year, but she was my best friend. I miss her, but I still talk to her. She passed away years ago, but she said gut is God.
Ooh.
And when I tell you, elders say things sometimes, and when you're young, you're like, God is not in my gut. I pray to God every day. But no, gut is God. So when you feel that very strong intuition, when you get goosebumps about, thinking about something or feeling an emotion like that is the realist. Like that is whatever you believe in communicating directly to you. Like this is what you need to be doing, or this is where you need not to be. Like that is so real. And our people have always been that way. Like that's integral to who we are. So, that's why people make pilgrimages to go to places. Like okay, let's be real. Think about all of the like holy centers and the sacred sites in the world. Where are all of them?
They're not in the United States of America. Right?
Yeah, and they're not in America. They're largely not, like I never hear anybody say I'm taking a pilgrimage to Copenhagen. Or I'm going to Amsterdam. They might be going to Amsterdam to like score some like legal weed, but like no one's going there for that enlightening experience, because the deeply, deeply rooted spirituality and even the earth medicines are from where our people are from.
Yeah.
It's Nepal or India or Africa or, South America. That's why people are having these holy experiences, because there's something very, very innately spiritual about us. And we have to remember that, because other people remember it. That's why they're going in droves to like our lands. We have to remember it. There's power in that. So,
and so we opened up the show talking about how it took us so long to get you at the table. And you mentioned to me that you were going on some form of sabbatical. I couldn't remember the term you used initially. Yeah. You were like, I'm going away for a couple of months or something, or weeks, or maybe it was just after.
I did a series of things. So, and it's common knowledge, I live with autoimmune issues. Okay. And so for the past, I've always been on a mission to try to like heal myself and try to do it without the use of like modern medicine, because that stuff will kill you. And so, I went vegan first, and then I started like juicing like a mad woman. And then I started taking all these like herbs from China and Korea and Africa. So I'm like all herbed out. Not high, just, ingesting herbs. And so I had been doing research on different methods of meditation. And somehow, like intuitively, I knew this, but I didn't have like empirical data in front of me. So because I'm a nerd, I'm like, let me research, what meditation actually does for the brain and for the body. Because we treat the brain and the body, that mind-body connection, like it's two different things, but it's really supposed to all act holistically as one. So the first time I just went, I didn't even tell anybody. I told you I wasn't going to be available, but I just went away by myself for like a week and was just by myself. And I was like, okay, I think I need to delve a little bit deeper. So what I did, this recent thing that I came back from, is called a Vipassana. And it's a 3,000-year-old form of meditation. And when I tell you it was a trip, I'm still processing it. essentially, you are meditating 10 hours a day for 11 days straight. You're waking up every morning at 4 a.m. I thought I was going to die because you don't eat after 12 p.m. And I eat. Like, I love food. Like, food is my love language. And someone told me, no, that's an act of service when people cook for you. I'm like, no, the actual food, like this plate of plátanos, that's my love language. Like, I love food. So the idea that I was not going to be able to eat, that I was going to be fasting, and I was worried about losing more weight, but, you know, that's superficial. But the idea is that we need to be in our bodies more and not intellectualize everything, which is very easy to do, and that we need to just be present and not so reactionary. And so, yeah, I went to this Vipassana. It was outside of Dallas in Kaufman, Texas, in the middle of nowhere. And we're pulling up this long, like winding driveway. There's no Wi-Fi, there's no anything. And I'm like, if this is a get out moment, if I see a single deer head, like I'm out. But it was a revelatory experience, and I'm still processing it. But literally, they wake you up at 4 a.m.
Okay.
From 4:30 to 6:30, you're meditating. Then you have breakfast at 6:30. And then from 8 to 9, we had 3 times a day something called a determination sit. And what that is to sharpen your will. And so for 1 hour, you find a pose that you're going to be comfortable in, or that you think you're going to be comfortable in, and you commit to not moving at all. 3 times a day for an hour. So this means if your fingers are like this, they're like this for an hour. If your hands are crossed, they're like this. You don't shift. And it seems like, oh, that's easy. You just sit.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Being still is terrifying.
Yeah.
And the first couple of days I struggled, to be honest with you. I was making lists of all the stuff that I could do when I got back home so I could be more productive. I was like, I choreographed this whole dance thing in my head because I have friends who are like professional dancers, and I was like, oh, I just had this idea, I'm going to send this. One day, I shouldn't say this on air, but one day I just couldn't get it. Like, my mind was all over the place. I'm like, I'm just going to do Kegels for 4 hours. So, like, that's my meditation. I'm a Scorpio. That's my meditation. So I did that. And by the 4th day, something clicked. And they actually say if you can make it to the 5th day, you're good, because people always leave.
Yeah, I can see that.
So every day, people were leaving.
So they were just willingly walking out.
They were like, I am out. Peace out. See you later. I mean, and there was one Black woman, and I was like trying to communicate with her telepathically. I'm like, sister, please stay. Like, please
Don't
stay.
leave.
While I was there, I decided I was going to lock my hair. But I forgot to bring a comb. So I'm like literally locking my hair with my fingers, you know, and I'm like, yeah, at the end of the meditation, I can go ask her to like borrow her comb so I can really make the part sharp. Just like thinking crazy things that have nothing to do with mindfulness, because my brain was ping-ponging all over the place. And because I'm very creative, but I'm also a logician, so that left brain, right brain dichotomy is very real. And when you're in an environment like that, and both sides of your brain are like, this side's strategizing and making lists and compiling data and thinking about all, and then your right side is like, I mean, anyway, it was life-changing, for real.
I can see that.
And I didn't think I was going to make it, but on that 4th day, I was like, okay, I showed, and no one can see this, but I showed Gylan, you could probably see, I have this little mark here.
Yeah, I see that.
So, you know, the experience was not supposed to be like you come dressed up and be fabulous or anything like that. Like, you take a vow of silence. You don't speak for 10 days to anyone. And they ask you not to wear jewelry. I'm like, what? I can't even wear my hoop earrings? I need my hoop earrings. They give me power. But I was outside, and I had a tank top that I washed and hung it on the line. And they ask you while you're here, if you wash something, don't even use like the washing machine, like wash it by hand. So that like everything's a meditation. I'm I had to do this when I was a little kid. But I'm washing something. I took it out to the line to dry, and I literally saw this hornet or wasp. It was red. I still don't know what it was. I think it was a wasp, but it came and it stung me.
Oh my gosh.
Typical Kirsten would have freaked out. I would have been on one.
Panic, yeah.
Yeah, because it hurts,
Sure.
you know? And after 5 days of meditation, I remember thinking like, okay, just observe. A wasp stung me. It's going to pass. Wow. It's going to hurt. It's not the end of the world. probably get a little bump or a bruise. And we're walking back into the dorm, and I saw like this gallon thing of hand sanitizer. So I squirted. I was like, that has alcohol in it. That's an astringent. It'll help draw out whatever, the wasp deposited. So I slapped the hand sanitizer. And then while I was doing this, I'm going to sound crazy.
That's all right. You ain't going to do
good.
good.
Sound crazy.
You're good.
I was telling Guy this earlier, but while I was doing this, I'm like, I just put my hand on it. And I was like, okay, I already know that if I panic or I freak out, my body is going to release histamines. And there's going to be swelling, and it's going to be red, and it's probably going to hurt more. So I am making up my mind that I'm not going to do that. There's going to be no histamine release. It stung me. It hurt in the moment. It's fine. So I went back to the meditation hall. I'm just holding my arm like this, and I'm just calm and cool. Nobody knew the wasp stung me. The next day, nothing. It never swelled up.
Wow.
It never turned. Well, I'm lying. It did turn a little red, but normally wasp stings are like, they're a mother, you know. But I know that because I stayed so calm, my body didn't go into that freak out mode. And that's why I just have this little thing with a scab on it now, as opposed, like, it never swelled up. It never got like, and I've been stung by a wasp before, and I know exactly what typically happens. I attest that to this experience because by that 5th day, I was so calm. I mean, I've never been high. I'm not going to say I'm afraid, but I've never drank. I've never tried cigarettes. I've never tried weed. I'm not against, like, live and let live. But for me, I've always been afraid to do anything stronger than like coffee or some herbs, But there were days where I'm like, I think this is maybe why people get high. Seriously, because when you are in a meditative state, your brain starts releasing certain chemicals. You can actually sort of rewire your neural pathways and train your synapses to respond differently to things. And there was one point where I really feel like, did I just leave my body? Like, this all sounds crazy. So then I went into crazy research mode, and now I have compiled 50 scientific journal articles about the effects of meditation on the brain and the body. But it was wonderful. And I plan on doing it again, but this time I'm going to go back and serve. So this whole model of Vipassana and Dhamma is so that, you kind of pay it forward. Mm-hmm. So the course that I did, we had people cooking for us every day. And it was awesome because there were women from, I met everybody at the end of the course. So there were people there from who were Nepalese, Indian, Taiwanese, Hindi, and of course, there were quite a few Americans there. I met a woman who had just become a monk. Her head was completely shaved, and she literally had like this glow about her.
Yeah.
She was so happy. She was like, I just sold everything I own. I have 3 outfits and I have 2 pair of shoes. I'm the happiest I've ever been. She drove 13 hours from California to come and cook for us at this meditation course. And then when she left this one, she's going to another one. So I think everyone, if, this is an intense experience. Everyone thought I was going to a retreat to get like pampered because I like bougie stuff, but I'm like, no, this is not that. I'm not getting manicures. I'm not getting waxed and massaged. It's 10 hours of meditation every day. And it teaches you how to observe without being reactionary. It teaches you how to, because when you are a heart-centered person, you also tend to be emotional, and I don't think emotionality is a bad thing, but if you don't know how to use it and navigate it, it can be a bad thing. So I don't know what else to say. I'm still processing a lot of it. It was beautiful.
See how you would still need some time, and I'm sure you felt like a roller coaster of different things throughout the week or the 11 days that you spent there. And I give you credit for doing that because most people wouldn't even,
people were like,
most people wouldn't agree to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Most people wouldn't show up.
Right.
Most people would quit on day one. All of that stuff.
I think we lost 10 people total.
Out of like how many?
I would say maybe. So the men and women are separated.
Okay.
There is it is strictly forbidden. There's like a men's side. It's like men's course ends here, women, but we could see them and we could see their class getting smaller. I think in our class we lost 5 or 6, including the sister. I was like, no, come back. But I want to say it's like 5 or 6 that we lost. But I think the seed was planted and they'll come back. The beautiful thing is though, this is not like a religious thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a philosophy and it's a methodology. It's just another tool. Because you could just look around and see. I mean, there was one lady and she definitely was wearing her cross, you know, so I assume she was probably Christian. I made friends with several of the ladies from India. One of the ladies that took me back into Dallas proper, she was from Nepal and she was Hindi, I believe. There was just a nice, diverse cultural representation that I really appreciated. Yeah. And there were people there with different beliefs, and they tell you, you know, this is not a religious thing. We're not asking you to convert to anything. We're asking you to use this as a tool to incorporate into your life. So going forward, that's what I'm going to do. So I've been waking up at 4 o'clock every morning since I've been back, and whew, it's a lot. But I think my circadian rhythm has reset because now I'm just getting up whether I want to or not. So I spend an hour meditating. I don't do the 2 hours. I'm not there yet. I'm a work in progress, but I do an hour a day before I even leave my bedroom. And I think I'm calmer and more centered, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
It just depends on the time of day and what's going on.
Well, it seemed like it was a mind flex, right? I mean, you're like flexing instead of your muscle, you're flexing your mind to become sharper, more aware, more, you know, just acute to all of these things that happen around you, to yourself. I mean, we need that, but most folks aren't willing to get to that level. I mean, what you did is a incredible experience, but there's little things that we could do on a daily basis to help get there, to sharpen our minds, to become, you know, more cognizant of other people, their feelings, so on and so forth.
Absolutely. Even if it's just, you know, there was one day I took off my shoes and I was like walking, because it's out in the middle of nowhere. Like there's no reception. The other thing I forgot to say is, so during this time, we were allowed no electronics. So when you get there, you check in your phone, your tablet, if you have a laptop, whatever you have. There's not even radios. They don't even want you to journal because, you know, journaling can be a form of escapism. So you're so focused on the journaling aspect of it that you're not staying present in the actual meditation, which to me was counterintuitive because I write about everything. I've been journaling since I was like 6. I write. And so I was like, I don't know if I'm going to make it. And one day, sorry if any of the ladies are watching, but one day I was like, oh, I have masks. I'm going to rinse.
What is it?
You know, the COVID mask or whatever. So I literally like wrote down a few things that came to me on the mask because I didn't bring my journal, you know. I brought them, but they were checked in with the rest of my valuables. And, you know, you couldn't bring any snacks from the outside. I'm like, dang it. So I'm like checking in my Lara bars and my pistachios. But SN Goenka, we had like a discourse at the end of every day, and we watched it on like a big TV. And he said something that stood out to me. He said, you know, you have just performed brain surgery on your own brain, on your own mind. And that's kind of what it felt like. It was trippy.
That's deep.
It was,
That's deep. That reminds me, a recent piece of advice I was given, and I try to listen to advice, whether it's verbal or spiritual or however it comes to me, whether it's on a little tea leaf packet, right? That comes.
Yeah, the universe sending us messages.
The universe sends you messages in the wildest ways, and it's up to us to pay attention because we could miss them easily, right? You talk about elder advice. You talk about, you know, something that you witnessed, a vibration from somebody you met at a gas station, however it may be. But it was two of the worst places to be are in the past and the future. Stay in the present. And I've been trying to live by that recently because, as you know, life is going to hit you. Life's going to try to take you down in one form or another on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, absolutely.
People always ask me early in the morning, hey, how you doing? And I'm like, I'll let you know.
And I'll let you know. Maximo, I like that. Because I feel like we've gotten into the habit of just saying like, how are you, without even really caring how the person is. How are you? I'm fine, thanks. How are you? Good. And then both people, and it's like, do you really want to know? I feel like we as a culture.
No, I say the same thing.
Do you really want to know? Other greetings, you know, like it doesn't always have to be, because I could go get gas and the cashier is like, hi, how are you today? And I'm like, I'm fine. And so now I'm trying to even be more mindful about how I greet people.
Yeah.
And not saying I don't want to know how everyone is, but there's just other things.
Wait, but what does that mean? What does that mean? How are you? Well, what do you mean? In what way? Like, what way do you want to know? That's what, because I'm the same thing as like somebody asks me something. Well, do you really want to know? Do you got time? How much time you got?
Right.
Like, you want to talk
like my dog just died.
Let's get into it.
again, I think it's, some things are so American. They really are.
Yeah.
Because okay, so I'm going to tell you one of my favorite, there's a Swahili word, sawubona. And in countries that speak, there's a lot of countries in Africa that speak Swahili because it's a lingua franca. So you can go to like 10 different countries, and in each country, everyone has their own language, and then there's like 20 other languages spoken, but they all speak Swahili. So even if you're traveling throughout the continent, you can communicate with a lot of different people. This word sawubona means I see you, right? So instead of saying, hi, how are you? It's like, I see you.
Yeah.
You're greeting someone.
Yeah.
But you're also letting them know, I see you, I acknowledge you, I give you your respect and your honor. So it's like sawubona, sawubona, and then you go on your way.
Yeah.
To me, that's lovely. We need versions
We do.
of that in our culture because we're just programmed to do
No,
things.
absolutely.
And just like, it's exhausting.
I'm totally with that. And we do need to get better ways. We have to readopt our original traditions, to unlearn what we have been taught and programmed to do.
Yes,
you know, because what you're talking about are modern versions of cordialness, right? Of just being polite and general salutations and greetings. Wait a minute, there's so many other things out there.
Yeah.
You talk about in yoga, namaste, right? And how do we honor each other in the present, in the moment, to honoring the light that's within you, all of that sort of stuff, right? We see, we recognize you. That is much better than, hi, how are you? Fine. That's good. You know, all that, just
It's
basic
just
stuff. And the other thing is, we are so much more of a creative people. We are so much more original that we can imagine.
Because everybody's like biting off of, I just went back to high school. I'm like, they're biting our style. But it's true. Everyone borrows, you know? And it's like, there has to be something of value there if other people are constantly taking things and assimilating them into their way of life, you know? It's just like, you know, the other thing that sort of I don't care for is when people, you know, and I know this has happened to you because you're a dynamic person. You know, you're out in an event or in a gathering and someone sees you and they notice there's something different about you and they say, what do you do? Mm-hmm. And, you know, I'm a little sarcastic. So in my head, I'm always like, I want to say something really like off, but I don't. But, you know, I'll usually say, well, what do you mean? Because I do a lot of things and I love life and I do a lot. So do you mean secularly, professionally? Do you mean in my free time? There was even a short period of time where, depending on where I was, I would just be like, I'm an abolitionist.
I'm with you on it. I'm with you with that too.
Because certain people ask that question to qualify you.
Absolutely.
They want to know whether
they're trying to size you up.
Yeah. Is it worth me getting to know this person? You know, are the optics of me standing in this place next to this person, is there some kind of social currency that I don't like playing all those games? So I would just, for like a while, and you know, some of the circles that I was in were already exhausting, but I would just be like, I'm an abolitionist. I'm just trying to get me and my people free. And people would be like, oh my God, do you mean like abolition? Oh my God, really? Oh, okay. All right, nice meeting you.
Yeah,
and then
I'll
they
go
leave
somewhere
and I'm
else.
like, mission accomplished.
Exactly.
But there's so many things that we do that are, we're just going through the motions.
Absolutely.
And we have to, for the sake of our own survival and for our sanity, because when we talk about, I'm going to sound crazy again, but there's different kinds of warfare, right? Like there's physical warfare, which we all are very aware of what that looks like. You know, it's televised and it's talked about, but then there's, you know, mental warfare, there's spiritual warfare, there's different types of violent engagements that we're subjected to all the time. And if we are going to survive and be halfway sane and remain creative and remain dynamic, we have to be intentional about our customs and our culture and saving and preserving those things. And not only preserving them, taking them into, there's a term called Sankofa. And I really love the philosophy of Sankofa is that you reach back, you bring it into the present, and then you bring it forward. Yeah. So that these things don't die. Because really, we are the global majority, and there are people who would be very happy if we've already lost most of our languages. I have a friend in Mexico, and he lives in Oaxaca, and he's like the dopest person ever. And he was talking about how people think, you know, Spanish is the language of Mexico.
Oh my gosh.
But it's not.
Come on.
It's not. Like he speaks I don't want to mess up the names and the pronunciations and dishonor, but he speaks like 4 languages that are like
native
indigenous languages. Yeah. And he lived in Mexico City for a long time. Brilliant guy. He's a scholar. I have like 4 friends who are scholars or who are linguists. It's very interesting. And they teach me so much because I love language.
Yeah.
But he was like, Spanish is not, he's like, I use it when I have to. He's like, I'm not all that keen on it. You know, it's a language. He was like, but he is very mindful about keeping those languages alive. That's important.
It is important.
That's so important. He's like working on a book right now. And I can't wait till it comes out. I'm like, let me know so I can, buy it and share it. But in every culture, we have our languages, our customs. And they're not always things that are like easily recognizable to everyone, but I like that because we got to keep some stuff for ourselves. We have to keep things close to our chest because the next thing you do, it's like,
it's going to be on sale at Target for such and such month.
I mean, look at Juneteenth. Did you see the ice cream? Oh my God.
I'm so upset about Juneteenth.
Listen, they trademarked Juneteenth.
Oh my gosh.
Like,
I didn't know that.
Trademarked it. And then after having the audacity to trademark it, then they slapped it on some like generic, like the carton of the ice cream wasn't even designed well. Like somebody just threw that together real quick and they're like, they'll buy it because they have, $30 trillion in buying power.
Yeah.
Let them buy their ice cream. And, that holiday for me already, like I'm always in conflict because what we are essentially celebrating is that we got news 2 years late about our freedom,
emancipation,
right? And so that's a hard holiday for me.
It is.
Like every year it comes around, I have mixed feelings, But to me, Juneteenth is something that should have just been kept for, I'm like, are we getting a signal? It should have been something that we kept a little bit closer to our chest. Because it's like, what holiday just passed? Cinco de Mayo.
I was going to go there. You beat me to it.
If I see one more Cinco de Mayo dress sale at wherever, I was at some boutique or a restaurant like, I don't know, TGI Friday. Like, really? A TGI Friday, Cinco de Mayo?
Somebody asked me for my quote or thoughts on Cinco de Mayo. I said, what do you want to know? I said, what do you want to know? What do you want to hear from me right now? Because I'm like you. I'm the same way. If you ask me, what do you do, Maximo? No, the question should be, what don't I do? You better come correct when you step into me.
Right.
Next.
Right. Yeah, it's just, so many of our things that should be holy and sacred. And again, I don't mean in a religious sense. I mean in the fact that they're ours.
Absolutely.
We created them. They've just become commodified. And some people see that and it's like, we're accepted now. So now that we're accepted, it means we belong. No, honey, that's not what that means.
Yeah, hands
what that
off.
means, what that means is that you're about to be exploited. So I have very strong feelings about wanting to be accepted all the time because that comes with a trade-off. I just think there's things we have to protect.
So real quick, when is your and I's birthdays around the same date? When is your birthday?
October 29th.
My birthday's November 1st.
Oh, so you're a Scorpio too.
So I'm a Scorpio too. And I remember seeing your birthday and I thought, were we born on the same day?
Yeah.
But it's not, but it's really close.
Yeah.
Because you and I are similar on a lot of mind matter. The problem is that a lot of people see me too, like, man, this guy's just strange. I can't figure him out. He's weird. He's different. Like, why does he say and believe these things? And it's like, nah, man, we're not going to believe the way other people want us to believe and see the world. Like, I have my own views. I have my own thoughts. I'm not afraid to talk about them, which is why we have a talk show here.
Yes, I love
this
it.
This gives us the
it.
platform.
Yeah.
No one's going to say, oh my gosh, they're so weird. Because a lot of the views and thoughts that we have are what people are waiting to believe and express themselves.
Absolutely.
People are saying, when you say this, oh my gosh, I've been thinking that this whole time. Oh my, I'm so happy that someone else. Guess what? A lot of people really feel and believe the way that we do.
Yeah.
And when we speak about these things, we give people the permission to do the same.
Yes.
And that's part of walking in your truth, of manifesting certain behaviors and actions and power, right? Because we are powerful people.
Amen.
You talk about, the wasp thing, right?
It was weird. I almost didn't share it, but I was like, no, it's okay.
But that is the power that we have, right? Like in a previous you could have panicked, could have made this thing swell up.
Me, like last month, I would have been like, ah! I mean,
Yeah.
because I'm, fairly dramatic. I would have screamed and been like, oh, wasp bit me. And, it would have been okay still, but I would have had a different reaction if I hadn't mindfully sat for the 4 days prior and just learned how to be still. And, that's the other thing. I have how much time do we have left?
So Guylon, he's the one that typically cuts us off, but let's just keep it going.
Well, no, I have some other theories about, we live in a society that tells us we also need to be hyper productive.
When you said that earlier, when I was thinking of all the things I could be doing, I'm like, man, I hate that. Why does it got to be that way? Like, you are defined by how much you can do, how much you can make, how much you can do. Wait a minute, man. We ain't getting off in 10 minutes, man. We got more time than that. Let's keep talking. Go ahead.
I don't understand.
The productivity piece.
Well, I think that is that spiritual warfare that I was talking about earlier, that I was alluding to. We are conditioned. Well, first of all, our people were currency at some point. Like, literally, we were traded and sold and bought and bartered, right? We were money, okay? We were the original old money. We're so much more than that. But so when you think about the idea that we have to constantly be productive in order to have value, it's BS. It's not true. And if you keep people busy all the time and you implant the idea that they have to be busy, they don't have time for mindfulness in other ways. So you're just going. And I'm guilty of this. Like, I have always been I already have a lot of adrenaline. Like, my doctor actually was like, you have like an adrenaline overload. Like, your body produces a lot. I'm like, oh, that explains so much. But also a lot of it came from the idea that, I have to excel at this. I have to do this. I have to do this, and all these optics, and I have to be this way. I don't have to do any of that. I don't have to do anything that I don't want to do and feel compelled to do. Yeah. But, in society, it's like you have to be productive. So as soon as you've reached a goal or a benchmark, I learned this in retail. I remember a company that I was working for, I was doing very well, and I had hit $1 million in sales, and I had been there a year. And it was like, oh, congratulations. Okay, so now you're next projected. And I'm like, whoa, wait, what? Can I bask in it? Can I just... But it's like, no, you have to do more. And I think that's American culture in general, but I think it hits Black and brown folks a little bit differently because we already have these messages that we're not enough. So on top of that, it's like, okay, you're already not enough, but maybe you can redeem yourself and your people if you're just extra productive and you are striving for excellence. We're already excellent. Yeah. So I think that's another form of warfare, is just the idea that we can't just be. We cannot slow down. We can't take off our shoes and walk in the grass and ground ourselves. Yeah. We can't have an hour where we do nothing. It's very common for people to call you and be like, what are you doing? And if you say nothing, it's like, oh, why?
Yeah, you're not being productive.
I'm just sitting here chilling. There's birds.
We are defined by what we do. That's why people ask, what do you do? What are you doing? It's like, whoa, wait a minute. What is this interrogation here? Come on.
But think about it. That's not our way, because traditionally for our folks, it was more, who's your family?
Yeah.
What is your name?
Tell me about your people. Tell me where you're from.
Your name has meaning. How many cultures, you think about it, they don't even name the baby right away. There are so many cultures that would wait a week and see what kind of qualities the baby has. There's something called in African culture, there's something called a basket name, right? So that name is the name that covers you, and other people call you by that name, but your actual name is not spoken. Your actual name, and this is why Black folks have 1,000 nicknames. It's true. It's it's a vestige of this ancient tradition, but you have a name that's not spoken, because that name speaks to your purpose and your character and what you're destined to do.
So much.
My brain is
you hitting all the spots right now, which is why you have your own show, More Than Magic. Now, Guylon tells us we're getting limited on time. Tell us briefly about.
He's just the producer.
Tell me about More Than Magic as best you can in 5 minutes or less.
I can do that. More Than Magic is something that has probably been in the works without my knowing for a very long time, and I have to give a lot of credit to Guylon, because Guylon told me years ago when we first met, he was like, you have a way about you. You're able to express ideas. People listen. I know there's also people who are like, well, she just shut up, and that's cool too. I'm fine with that. But he suggested to me a long time ago I should do like a YouTube show or a blog or something. And I'm just like, no, I don't think people want to hear from me that much. And then I realized, actually earlier this year, it's not about people wanting to hear from me. It's more about our stories. Yeah. We all have a story, and we have multiple stories inside of us. And it's about connecting. And that's one of the ways that you can, I hate to use the word minister, but you know, they always say your testimony is in your life experience. And I realized like my throat chakra is kind of blocked off. Like I have all this, you know, these ideas. And so, you know, Gylan and I talked about it. And More Than Magic is kind of a play on the Black girl magic thing, because when people think of Black girl magic, it's very external most of the time. It's like, oh, she's beautiful. Yes, Black girl magic. Or her fro is popping. Yes, Black girl magic. Yes, we're beautiful and wonderful. But there's so much more. There's so much more depth. And it's also, for me, it's a play on the very spiritual nature of who we are. Like, I truly believe that we are magical beings. Yeah. And there's so many ways that we can reclaim that, and we just need to reorient ourselves so that we can remember, because it's in there. You know, things are waiting to be activated if we just take the time and slow down. So I have decided, and you and I had a really funny conversation, because when you invited me, and this was probably, I'm like, was that rude? I don't know.
No, it was good. It was funny though. I know where you're going.
Yeah. But I told Gylan, you know, I was kind of conflicted. I said, you know, Gylan, I don't know if this is like PC or not, but I really want to have like the first 100 guests be like Black women.
And it's great.
Because, you know, we talk about representation, but like representation for what? Just to show up and be like, I'm here and I'm Black. True. All right, peace out.
True.
No, because we have stories, we have experiences, we have, you know, a wealth of knowledge, we have value. And there's so many other, I mean, even with me working in the fashion industry, I remember I had to form a group once of all these Black models that I knew, and literally like take all of their images and their comp cards and shoot them out to everyone, because like they weren't getting any work. And these women weren't just models. These young girls weren't just models. Like they were like college athletes scoring like crazy numbers. And they were, one girl, what is she now? She's a clinical psychiatrist. Like these are people that were more than just their external. And the external is obvious. It's so easy to just look at someone and be like, oh, they're beautiful and whatever. So that's the show for me, is a chance to give all of the wonderful Black women that I don't know and that I do know and that I hope to know, a platform to talk and to commune, and also just to celebrate. Because, it is, you know, sometimes in the media, when we are presented through the world to the world, it's through a lens of like always having like triumph over tragedy. So we can't celebrate ourselves without talking about, and this is very like, nobody ever believes me. I lived in the hood. Like I've lived in the projects before, you know. There was an ongoing joke like that we were like the bougie people in the projects, and my mother like remodeled the inside of our place without their permission, and it was a trip. But yeah, I've lived in the projects. I've lived in the sticks. I've lived in the country. I've lived in all sorts of different environments. Yeah, I got a little hood in me. So what's interesting though is that where am I going? Because I'm thinking like we now have 2 minutes. Oh wait, 1:16. Okay.
Gylan thinks he's telling us what to do. We telling him what to do. Don't worry. This. Go ahead.
But at the end of the day, we don't need to have trauma.
Absolutely. I knew you was going to go there. That's what I'm saying. Come on now.
That's the pattern that I see. It's like, oh, this woman is the first Black woman.
Yeah.
But she was born in the ghettos, ridden, you know, she went to sleep every night.
That's what they want to hear.
Gunshots, and that's what
they want to hear.
And that is valid. That's a very real experience. Yeah. But it's almost like paying someone a compliment. Like, oh my God, you look good. But I remember when you were really overweight and you had pimples. Like, do you have to do that?
Oh, come on.
You can celebrate someone's now without. Now, if I have guests that want to talk about that, absolutely. I love it. Like, bring everything. But I really want a place for people to see Black women, hear our stories, and not have to focus on the trauma.
Absolutely.
Because trauma sells. Trauma's entertaining.
That's the thing. Yeah, we don't need that.
Yeah. And it's valid. Like, it's a very real thing, but there's spaces for everything. And I just want to celebrate us unapologetically, unabashedly. And I don't care what anybody got to say about it.
No, you're doing great. You're doing great with it anyway. And I wasn't offended at all.
Yeah, because I said, like, God,
no,
I said,
one of the
Kyla
things
was just
is
rude.
And no, and I told you as well, I got to get you hooked up with my kid's doctor. Because my kid's doctor was a Black woman. And then I say was because she retired.
I would love
and we were
to
like,
talk to her.
oh, damn. We were like, she retired, man. We had a great doctor for our kids, pediatrician.
Yeah.
And then so we got another doctor. We show up and her replacement's Black. A Black woman as well. And I'm like, yo, this is great.
Yeah.
This is exactly what we wanted. And I'm like, she's cool. She's down. She's hip. She's with it. She's got to come on your show as well.
I would love to. You know, what I'm going to be doing, because right now I've just invited a lot of people that I admire, but I really want to, or I'm going to start making shows that are a little bit more thematic. So we'll have shows specifically about health and beauty, specifically about wellness, specifically about, you know, being a Black woman and being an entrepreneur, but also about some very nuts and bolts things. Like, what does it take to get funding for you know, these things? Like, how do you get in contact with a venture capitalist? Like, I know brilliant women who own technology firms. And that's not something that the average person would think that we do. But I know like 6 sisters who are like bosses, you know, and I want to talk to them so they can disseminate this information so that people don't think like, oh, well, that's just not for me. No, everything is for us.
Absolutely. There ain't nothing that's out of the realm of possibility that's for us.
If we say that it is so, it is so.
Absolutely. And that's, you know, we got to wrap up the show.
Okay.
Now, we are not done.
No.
We will have you back. We'll have further conversations. I got to give you a shout out to advancing human connection, to promoting people walking into their power, passion, and purpose, because that's what we all need to do. Right. And if we're encouraging that, we're doing a great thing. If you haven't found it yet, keep going, keep striving for it, keep following your heart. It knows the way.
Absolutely.
Right. So we are not done here to have you, but we are going to wrap up the show. We're going to let you get the closing words. We appreciate you coming in, breaking some bread, rolling some maize and chopping up the wood,
No.
throwing a wood on the
Right,
fire and stuff with
right.
us. You know, I stand by what I say. You are an interesting person, intriguing person. I encourage everyone to check out her show at VodPod Media here, which y'all shoot on the weekends live.
So yeah, we're going to change it up a little bit. Guylan and I've twisted his arm. I'm like, we're having a meeting after this, because what we're going to do, we're going to have 4 episodes a month now.
Ooh.
And we're going full steam ahead. It's going to be the second, let me not lie. Hold on. Yeah, the 2nd and 4th Thursday and Saturday. So that's 4 episodes a month. And that will start in July, because I'm about to go out of town again for 2 weeks. So I can't do anything until I come back. But yeah, I have some really big ideas. And, you know, I just decided fear can be, people talk about fear like it's a horrible thing. It's actually not.
Yeah. Fear
is only a bad thing if you stay stuck in it and you let it control you. But for a long time, I had a fear of being like too out there. I don't want to be up in everybody's face all the time. But I realized, like, I've had wonderful people in my life that have taught me. Like, I like to be around people who are smarter than me. I really do, because I can learn, and I like to be challenged. So I've had wonderful teachers, wonderful mentors. I've had some crazy life experiences that no one would ever believe. Thank goodness I have witnesses, because people are like, yeah, that really happened to Kirsten. It really did. I was there. But I want to be able to use all of that to hopefully just inspire people.
Yeah.
And hopefully, you know, and I'm still on a journey as well. Like, there are so many things that I'm learning. You know, I will be 44 this year. And in my mind, I'm like, you know, I feel about 30. But the reality is, like I was saying earlier, time flies. You look up in the blink of an eye, it's gone. And time is our most precious commodity.
Sure it is.
So I have decided it's time.
You ready too.
Ready.
You ready
Let's
for
do
it.
this.
And you're doing a fabulous job. And
Thank you.
people have been complimentary of your show. I've heard a lot of people say, man, the artistic value is amazing. How did y'all get those lights? And it's been beautiful. It's been fire. The content along with the look have been just on point.
I said, if I'm like, this is great. I love this. But I said, I'm interviewing Black women. I want like warmth. I want the same warmth you feel when you hug a Black woman and she smells like cocoa butter. Like, I want that same when you sit down and you laugh to you just laugh till you cry and your stomach hurts. Like, I want that reflected in the visuals. And so, I sent Gylan some images, and I'm like, this is what I want. I want it to look like the lighting from Insecure. I love Issa Rae. She's brilliant. I talk about her all of the time. And her cinematographer just got it down, where everything just feels warm and it feels good. So we still may have a little bit of tweaking to do with the lighting, but it was very intentional to have that warmth.
There you go.
Yeah.
So find that intention, people.
Yes.
We'll let you get the closing words, but thank you so much. A lot of people said, "Hey,
love?" No, I'm just kidding.
People have asked us, "Man, how did you get Kirsten on the show?" I'm like, "Kirsten is great. Just give her a call. Like, shout out, give her a shout out, because people are like, "Man, people know you. Like, people like you're like on that list of people doing work in the fashion, the style, having that influence, and people come to you for things, whether it's a photo shoot, whether it's something to be styled for. I mean, you got that flair and that touch."
And thank you. It's, I'm just here to use up all my gifts. Like, when my time is up, I want to be like, I used up all my gifts. I spent it all. I wasn't a miser. I didn't hold on to it. I wasn't like, I'm going to keep this for me. And so that's really what we're all to do. Use up your gifts, man. Use them up. Like, you should leave this life spent in the best way possible.
Those are great closing words. And I got to say, your nails look fab, by the way.
Oh, thank you.
How did you get those nails? What, did you do those yourself or what?
Oh, so I like to change my nails like every week. I shouldn't even be saying this on air.
Those are great.
So there's a brand called Kiss, and they have like at-home nail kits. You can do your nails. So I just learned to do it myself.
DIY.
I'm spending $50 to $70 every time I go to the salon, and I have some aggressive financial goals, and I'm like, ooh, that's a lot of money every year. So I just started doing my nails myself. Next time you see me, they'll be different. The time you see it, I change them literally every week. But yeah, I do them myself. So thank you.
All right, folks. There you have it. Get your nails done. She's doing nails next, folks. Kirsten Thompson. Find her on social media. Support her work. Check her out at VodPod Media. You'll find her here 4 times a month, coming up here shortly. Thank you so much to Gylan. Don't call me Big G Labs. Jackson here on the east side. Thank you so much, folks, for being with us. It's always been a pleasure. Thank you for having us. And thank you, Kirsten, for being the guest today. You've been fabulous as always as well. Fellow Scorpio.
Yes, I get it now. I get it. The synergy, it makes complete sense. I have a lot of Scorpio friends, so yeah.
Hey, there it is, folks.
And we're not that bad. I always tell people, we're not that difficult. It's just like a literal scorpion. Like, think about it, though. We like our little dark corners. We like our solitude and our peace. We come out to light when we want to. And we won't fight unless you back us into a corner. And then if you do, you might die. You might get stung and you might die. So that's that.
All right. Bye, Felicia, a.k.a. Gylan. We'll see y'all next time. Thank you so much, folks. Give us a like, comment, share. VodPod. We'll be back with you next week. Thanks so much.